My view on term limitations, I think we should have term limitations. Yes, sir. Not exactly sure. Yeah, it's a 2-year seat. I'm not sure. I mean, off the top of my head, I think maybe 3 terms. 6 years. I mean, I think you should be able to get done what you need to get done in 6 years. I'd be open for discussion, but yeah, generally we just don't want somebody sitting in there forever.
Yes, ma'am.
You say for the people and running a campaign, you're gonna need money.
Yes,
So
ma'am.
my question is, where are you getting your campaign from? Because we hear this all the time. If you get money from white people, that's a problem. You're not gonna get much money from black people. So, where should you get your campaign dollars from, and how much do you have in your campaign? You're number one contributor.
Okay. So I've been spending my own money. I haven't really asked for too many donations. I did receive a donation. My top donation is from a Muslim man that appreciated my stances on not wanting to have unnecessary wars and my sympathy with humanitarian issues. I think we should only go to war when absolutely necessary or for humanitarian reasons. How much?
He said he is self-funded.
Yeah. Okay, the largest amount, okay, so I got one donation for $10, got another donation for $1,000. How much was it?
Okay, we're gonna stop the rolling questions, okay?
Oh,
The gentleman in the corner.
If you consider yourself your district is failing, who would you say is at fault? The representatives or our current president? And if it's our current president, why?
I would say our representative and our current president. Why our representative? Because he's been in office since, what, 2012? And he says he's for us. And he's for these issues, but he's not championing any of them. What is he sponsoring? What is he sponsoring? We don't need somebody that can talk smoothly and talk a good talk. We need somebody that walks a good walk. How do you prove that? By how you vote. If you vote for the XL pipeline, if you're voting against impeachment, if you're voting for a border wall, well, it doesn't sound like too much for them. And you're receiving hundreds of thousands of dollars from big oil and gas. You're working for them, not us.
Mentioning impeachment.
Yes, sir.
Knowledge that you have, not everything else, just the impeachment.
Yes, sir.
The knowledge that you have, why would you impeach him and your representative has all the information before the answer? Why would you impeach him? On what grounds?
I would have impeached him. Huh?
Go ahead.
I would have been allowed to impeach him when Al Green first presented the impeachment from the Black Caucus, the representative from Houston, Texas, based on racism. If nothing else, to send a message, even if it's not going to go through, it's going to get to Republicans and they're going to kick it out. But to send a message that we don't stand for that.
That's not what they're trying to impeach him right now.
Yes, sir. I'm going back to a couple years ago when the first impeachment.
So that's what the police department would hold against you if they arrested you.
Okay, so are you done answering your question?
So you would impeach him with just the knowledge that
I would impeach him on any grounds we can impeach him for, because we're just trying to get him out. All right. Okay, so if you agree with me on these issues, that we should have a more united America, that we are one team, that we can work to have better police-community relations. If you want to have somebody fighting in Congress for us to help prevent the next tragedy like that of Bolton John, like that of Tatiana Jefferson, like that of Isaiah Golden, then you need to get into this election, man. I'm not running for Congress. We are running for Congress. All right? If I get into Congress, we get into Congress. You're going to see what the difference is when we have somebody that is representing the people, that cares about us, but this is us. We have to get in. I need you to talk to people. Yo, donation, hook it up with the donation. You got some talent? Give me some talent. You got some time? Give me some time. This isn't for me, this is for us. I'm not running for me. I don't expect you to do anything for me. I expect you to do it for you. I expect you to do it for your kids. I expect you to do it for our community. Step up, baby.
Your passion and explaining who you are and why you are running. So thank you so much and good luck to you. At this time, I would like to call the Railroad Commissioner candidates. So we will keep right on moving along. Yes, it gets, look, if this is your first time, baby, it gets lively here in Monday Night Politics, okay? Please have a seat. Thank you. It gets very lively here. So, yes. So, now, Railroad Commissioner, I don't know how many of you really pay attention to politics that much, but this is a statewide seat that these two candidates are running for. This position holds a lot of weight with industry here in the state of Texas. So I will allow each candidate to have 2 minutes to introduce themselves and their platform. And we have the Honorable Alonzo here. He was former state rep. And Krista Castaneda. I'm bad, and I have been called Cindy a whole bunch of times, so I take it personal and want to make sure that I pronounce names correctly. So you will each get 2 minutes, and then you will have 1 minute to answer questions. Alrighty, so, Honorable.
Would you like to go first, ladies first?
No.
Good evening, everybody. It's a pleasure to be here. I was here 2 years ago asking for your vote, and I'm coming to ask for your vote again. I'm running for Railroad Commissioner, and the Railroad Commission has nothing to do with railroads. It has to do with oil and gas. Although, in 99, 2001, I did serve on the dartboard, which means we dealt with trains. However, now I'm running for Railroad Commission as a statewide office, and I can tell you this, there's 4 candidates running. We all basically think the same. We're against fracking, we're against flaring. We're about keeping an eye on the pipelines. Let me tell you one of the things that happens. As oil and gas companies ask for a permit, they just fill out a form. There's no questions, there's no research, there's no economic impact, how it affects the community. So we need to get on there. And I can tell you this, for years, no Democrat would run because we didn't think we could win. And we've talked a lot about this, about how for years, you know, you would come to conventions and meetings of Democrats and very few people would show up. Well, guess what? Now we're showing up. And we're showing up, and this is going to be a tsunami year like it was in 2008. Why? Everybody notices Texas. Everybody noticed Texas, not in the primary only, but also in the fall. So as it relates to a Democrat, I've been in this process since 1980. When Kennedy ran for Congress, for U.S. President. And I've been a national delegate 8 times. And I've been a precinct delegate here in Dallas since '86. And I've been on the State Democratic Executive Committee. And I've been an 8-time national delegate. And I've been a 20-year state representative. With all the issues that we're dealing with, I've done it. In fact, 2 years ago, I proposed, actually 3 years ago, I proposed that we change the Railroad Commission to oil and gas so people would know what it's about. Again, I ask for your support. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Good evening. I'm Krista Castaneda, also running for the Railroad Commission. It has everything to do with oil and gas, and that's where I come in. I have worked in and around the industry for over 30 years, and I want to emphasize the word worked. I have worked to represent landowners and royalty owners, and I held one of the biggest verdicts against the oil companies to enforce the law, not only in the state of Texas, but nationwide. So I know the business. I've been an engineer, I've been an attorney, I'm a mom. I have worked long and hard to elect more women to public office, including women who now hold public office. I ran against Mark Vesey in 2012 for the Texas 33rd Congressional District. Why? Because I believed it was so important to have women in office. Ladies and gentlemen, because I know this complicated business, and I know that there's not one type of permit, there's 30 types of permits, and I know the law, I know how the commission runs, and I'm going to be the best person to beat the Republican who cares nothing for the law because I work. I work so much that the groups who are endorsing have endorsed me over all of my opponents. I am the person who, when the media calls, I actually answer the phone and explain to them. And as a result, if you Google me, you will see that I am the one who is getting all of the attention from the media and trumpeting the positions that we need for the Democratic Party in this next election cycle. We will win this seat. I agree with my opponent on that. And when we earn this seat, it's important that we know how to govern and that we elect people who will actually do the job. It's important that we elect people who are ready to lead and are not resting on laurels from 10 or 20 years ago. Thank you very much. Okay.
All right, so I am going to open up the floor. Yes.
Are you aware of the amount of fines for the abuses that have happened in this state? And what regulatory experience do you have in opposing fines? And what are the top 3 fines that impact our law?
Okay. I am aware of the fines. I am aware of the fines. I have not represented any company in opposing any fines, so I'm not on the other side of this issue, if that's the intent of the question. And I will say that the fines are historically way too low and way too small and way too late for the kinds of abuses that go on. It has been against the law for 100 years to flare oil and gas. And flaring is lighting on fire of natural gas. Right now we're lighting on fire enough natural gas to power the city of Houston. And here's what my Republican opponent is doing. He is giving out exception permits, what they call exception permits, and I know how those are granted, and I know why those are granted, and I know how to stop them from being granted, just like they're Tic Tacs. So people are not incurring fines, okay? So we're going to slow down that process. We're going to make sure that we adequately fund the Railroad Commission to have enough people to enforce the fines when they need to be enforced.
Sure. Yeah, I've done the research, just like Crystal mentioned, very low. And the reason very low is because the people in office right now are doing that. They're not monitoring, they're not enforcing the law, and that's why we're running for office, to try to get there. And you know, as I go around the area and speak, people ask me, are you going to take care of this problem? Well, you know, I can't do it by myself, right, because there's 3 votes. It takes 2 votes to tango. But I'll tell you this, it's been mentioned, this is not about being a lawyer, this is not about representing, this is about policy. And I've got 20 years and I'm honored to have served the state of Texas. In addition, during those 20 years, we dealt a lot with oil and gas and tried to fix those problems. But in conclusion, I can tell you this. Recently, there was a vote to vote against flaring, and the vote was 2-1, which means if one of us gets there, I think we'll have a chance to an opportunity to change things.
Thank you. All right. Question. Yes, ma'am.
What can you do about fracking? I remember the case with Denton when they wanted to stop fracking 100%, and the governor said, "You're not in control of that. You know, the state is." And so, what can you do about stopping fracking when neighborhoods don't?
Well, I can tell you this: when that issue came up, Denton voted to stop fracking, and what happened was that issue went to the legislature, and when it came up, I voted against it. So one of the things, aside from what we can do, in answer to your question, is have votes on the commission, but in addition, try to encourage and support policy that will work with these deals. Because some of these deals are already state laws, statutes that exist, but I think as we tried in Austin to change it, we can do that and also do what we can in the Railroad Commission.
Thank you.
So the issue of state versus local control is a huge concern, because the closer that oil and gas operations get to our communities, and of course they always impact the communities that are on the edges where there is environmental injustice. We have got to bring the local control back to where local communities have some control over the operations that are going on nearby. So that's number one. Number two, fracking is a huge amount of different types of operations. They're the operations that pollute our groundwater if they're not done correctly. They're the operations that create earthquakes if they're not done correctly. We need to make sure that the Railroad Commission is putting out the very best available data to the operators to make sure that those kinds of concerns are controlled. And we need to make sure that our communities have the say-so again.
Okay, great, thank you. Yes, sir.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm not calling on people. I'm a lawyer and I have to call on people occasionally. I'm sorry. Forgot my role.
You're really wrong about this presupposition, but is natural gas regulated by the Railroad Commission?
Yes.
Okay. Then
Certain aspects.
certain aspects.
Yes.
Well, we hear about the constant explosions, you know, when one in Lovefield area, and all those sort of things. Is that the sort of thing that Railroad Commission
Yes.
does?
So
Okay, so what can we do to prevent things like that from happening?
excellent
Because
question.
there's some
Okay.
camps that was supposed to have been done
Okay.
2 years ago that never
So here's the problem. The Railroad Commission regulates pipeline safety, and it specifically regulates the infrastructure that led to the pipes blowing up in Northwest Dallas. And there is a specific type of valve that they haven't replaced quickly enough, and types of pipes that they did not replace quickly enough. And this is an issue that we have got to drive forward. Atmos and similar companies have got to spend more on infrastructure, and the legislature has got to do something to encourage them to spend more quickly. So what I would do as Railroad Commissioner is make sure that we have the safety regulations enforced, but we also need to work with the legislature to make sure that they are rolling out this program. We don't get 15 years and lost lives. We need it done yesterday.
As I mentioned, during the legislature, we try to pass legislation. And in answer to your question, like she's pointed it out, as far as getting legislation, Representative Rafael Anchia, after the explosion happened, proposed and got as much legislation as possible passed. And that's where I talk about we gotta do our part in the Railroad Commission, and then we gotta work with the legislature, make sure we have the proper laws to make it happen.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
What do you say to a Democratic congressman who votes for the votes against the clean water bill, votes for the Keystone Pipeline, and yet comes into the community and says he's a candidate of the people? What would you say to that person who votes for fracking companies and, like Mr. Segura said, receives hundreds and thousands of dollars from oil and gas companies?
I would say, as is mentioned, we have different levels of government: local government, state government, and federal government. The local people need to take care of the local people. The state government needs to take care of the state government. And then the people have to bring it to the attention of the congressman and let their feelings known.
Is that my friend, Mr. Quintanilla?
Yes, it is.
Hello. It's 33rd District Home Week. Nice to see you. So, Donald Trump is rolling back all of our environmental protections. Who here has heard that? Yeah? Yep. And specifically, he is attacking the EPA and its mandate to make sure that we have clean water and clean air. Who's in favor of clean water? Yeah? Yeah, can I hear it? Come on. Yes. Who's in favor of clean air? Yes. All right. So the number one thing I would say to any congressperson is you have got to make sure that you bolster the EPA. You have got to make sure that whatever regulatory infrastructure you need to make sure the EPA is still alive and functioning by the time Donald Trump is out of office has to happen now. And in the meantime, because Donald Trump is attacking everything, this is the most important environmental race in the country in 2020. Nowhere is oil and gas more prevalent than Texas, and nowhere is it more important for the environment than here.
Okay, thank you so much. Any other questions? I want to take somebody new. Over here. Okay, Mr. Earl.
Probably where I think Quintanilla is going and where I think our railroad commission needs to go is how willing are you to get the platform to expose the abuses that are impacting our state, our community, and our people? Because it takes agitation, litigation to make some of the successes that we've had in our movement, in our country, no matter what abuse and oppressed people you're speaking of. So how hard will you go out and fight and expose to the community the different problems that are out there to the point where you go, hey, I've gone far enough, I don't want to, right. So how far are you willing to fight?
I'm so glad you raised the question of agitation and litigation because, again, I hold the largest verdict in the nation against oil companies in 2016, the largest verdict in the heart of the Permian for them not following the laws and the contracts and the obligations that the Railroad Commission set forth, okay? Here's why I'm the best candidate, because I look at every little detail, and I know from engineering and from law and from accounting and finance, everything they do, everything that they try to hide, and I know how to ferret it out. So, I'm that girl. If you want it fixed, I'm that girl.
So the answer to your question from my part is, I've been there, and if you look at my track record, for 20 years, it's there as far as I voted on all these issues that you're talking about. And let me tell you what that track record means. This weekend, the AFL-CIO met. And one of the platforms that they have deals with the environment. And when they looked at the candidates that were running, they looked at what their positions were and what their history was in policy. And as a result of that, I got the endorsement unanimously of 240,000 union members. So the answer is the question, I've been there, I've done it, I talked it, I voted on it, I worked on policy, and of course, if I'm on the Railroad Commission, I'm going to vote to make sure we make those changes. Thank you.
Thank you. So, do you want to answer the question? Since we are heavy oil and gas states, is there a way to start getting us away from oil and gas and bring it in more focused on green energy?
I'm going to answer first, and she'll follow up. Right now, the Railroad Commission does not only deal with oil and gas, it doesn't only deal with these issues, but also deals with alternative energy. And in the state of Texas, we work hard on trying to come up with alternative energy, but we must keep on working at it. We must come to a point where the oil and gas companies understand that we need to do something about it. And let me tell you how I put it in perspective. Recently, I saw the movie on Netflix of the two popes. And one of the popes said, you know, when you think about the Bible says, thou shalt not kill. And as it relates to the environment, it has to do with taking care of people. As he said, we need to deal with climate. So the answer to your question, we know there's business, we know they're going to do business, but they also got to do the right thing in taking care of the people and coming up with ways, and they can, and I know that they know, we just got to get there.
Thank you.
The answer to your question is, currently, the Railroad Commission does not have any jurisdiction over the alternative energy sources that we need. It has very limited control over liquefied natural gas and compressed natural gas, but it has no control over wind or solar, and we do need to transition to those activities and those methods of producing energy for our state. But in the meantime, how about we stop lighting on fire enough natural gas to power the city of Houston? Who's with me on that? Who's with me on using the fossil fuels that we're spending billions to go get, and yet we're not taxing them, and we're not getting royalties off of them because they're lighting them on fire? The industry brags that they're returning $16 billion in taxes to our dollars because we're not taxing flaring. Ladies and gentlemen, I know from day one that I can take control of the Railroad Commission seat and make a difference for you.
Thank you. Any other questions? Yes, sir.
If you really care and you're passionate about oil and gas and the environment, would you be willing to expose some Congress people that vote in ways that go against what you say you're so passionate about, even if they're in the same party, so that way the people in the community, they're not always informed. So if no one tells them what's going on, they don't know. Would you be willing to point that out to help encourage those Congress people to vote how they're supposed to vote?
Look, I'm always in favor of getting the facts out into the public and getting transparency in government. The Railroad Commission ought not be named the Railroad Commission. He's right about that. It ought to be named the Oil and Gas Commission or the Texas Energy Commission. And we ought to make public, we need a whole overhaul at the Railroad Commission about the data and the practices that are actually available to the public and where the money's going and who's doing what. It ought to be a lot more available than it is. It requires investment. It requires us charging bigger fees to the oil and gas companies for their permits so that we can fund the knowledge base and the people and the infrastructure that we need to actually get that information to you and to the voting public.
Thank you. Okay. Any other questions? Okay. We will let you have your closing statements at this time.
Okay. You want me to go first?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for your attention. I think as you can see here tonight, I know this business. I know it inside and out. I know it forwards and backwards. And here's what I also know. I know I'm willing to work harder than anybody else for the people of Texas. I know that I have worked harder. I know that I have been ping-ponging around this state. I've been to the Rio Grande Valley. I've been to Midland. I've gone to the heart of the Petroleum Club. I've talked to those people. I said, I'm a Democrat running for the Railroad Commission. What do you think of that? I've gone into the heart of the oil and gas companies, and I know that I can get them to do something about these problems. I know that I can get them to do something about flaring. I know that I can get them to do something about putting more money into our state coffers and wasting less energy. Here's what else I know. I know that Progress Texas, a 100,000 member organization, has endorsed me as the right candidate for this race. I know that communities all around the state, Houston, Dallas, Austin, those groups are all endorsing me. Why? Because I will work. I did not lose an election to a new opponent because I had failed to stand up and deliver for the people of Texas. I am here asking for your vote today because I'm the best representative for you, the citizens of Dallas, and the citizens of Texas. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Well, first, let me answer the question about having lost. I've lost many times. I lost when I ran for student council in high school. I lost against Domingo Garcia in 1996. I lost against Jessica Gonzalez 2 years ago. But I didn't give up. I kept on participating. In fact, through the years, one of the things I try to do and help elect people to office. I helped elect Carol Alvarado by 200 votes. I helped elect John Lopez for City Council in Grand Prairie by 8 votes. I stayed involved. And I don't feel bad that I lost. You got to keep on going. From losing, you win. You win and you keep on trucking. Now, if I am so bad, why did I get 240,000 union votes? And I'm just saying that because in the end, we're going to have difference of opinion, but I'm going to do what a lot of folks don't do. We're going to stick together and support the Democratic nominee. Railroad Commission, President, Congress, State Senator, State Rep, Constable, Sheriff, and the whole big book. And the list goes on. I want to continue participating. And I've dealt with all these folks. And in the end, folks, it's not about screaming and yelling. It's about governing. It's about talking to people. As I pointed out, we already had a vote on the Railroad Commission. The vote was 2-1. So what does that tell you? One of us has to be there to make it a 2-1 in our favor. 2-1 in our favor. So it's going to be a few, months to go, and then we're going to get to the November election. But we're going to work together. We're going to try to get as many supporters on both sides, but we're going to keep on trucking. I want to tell you, you win the nomination, I'm going to support you. Because like I know, if I make the nomination, you're going to support me. And that's how it's going to be. It's not like a lot of times we get upset and don't do that. I'm going to be one of those people. I've been in the party all these years. I've been a precinct delegate. I've been in the committee. I've been a national delegate. I've been a state representative. I've been in the calendars committee. I'm going to continue to participate and help all Democrats. Thank you very much, and God bless you. And I ask for your support for Railroad Commission for the state of Texas. Thank you very much.
Alrighty, so now we'll be calling the candidates for House District 109 for State Rep District 109. Okay, could the troublemaker in the very back, I want to see you, because we haven't talked face to face, but we have Facebooked. Yes, sir. Yes. Okay, calling for all the candidates for State Rep House District 109. Okay, all right. Well, I will give the floor to Carl Sherman Sr., who is the current State Rep for District 109.
Thank you. Thank you, Sidney Walker, and thank you, Dallas Examiner and Molly Bell, for your steadfast commitment to the community to ensure that candidates get the opportunity to talk to citizens that care about what's going on in our community. I want to thank you for the opportunity you've given me and the privilege to serve you in District 109. My first term as your new state rep, I'm proud to say that I'm one of only 2 freshmen that was appointed to the esteemed Appropriations Committee. I also, while serving on appropriations that defines or determines the budget for the state, that's important, and I guess that is in line with my history as a former city manager and a former businessman. But really, while that's important work and serving on House admin that determines the budgets for all the committees, including special committees, and also recently being appointed to the Special Select Judicial Commission. But where my heart is corrections. See, in the state of Texas, we incarcerate more people than any state in the union. We incarcerate more people in the state of Texas than any other state. If it were a city, it would be the 20th largest city in the state, with 164,000 people incarcerated in our state and 104 prisons across our state. I know that because I'm touring our prisons. It matters to me how we treat our people. As a former city manager, the conditions that we have to maintain for animal shelters is not even being maintained for our prisons. Of the 104 prisons that we have, 75 do not have air conditioning in the housing unit. People are dying. And so I'm fighting for you, and I'm fighting for the people who can't even vote for me. Thank you.
So do we have questions? I'm gonna open it up to the floor before I do. Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Sherman, first of all, congratulations on completing your first session. But I'm curious to know, what would you say was the most challenging thing, the thing that you didn't expect going down as a freshman?
Yeah, that's a good question, great question, Ms. Crockett. I think that the most challenge is a convergence of special interest at the Capitol level. You see, as a city manager and as a former mayor and council member, I'll tell you, some of the same folks that I saw at our council meetings lobbying for things that they wanted, special things that they wanted, special variances that they wanted, that they didn't get. Because in our state, you know, we have 1,214 cities, municipalities in our state. Of those, 862 are general law cities and 352 are home rule cities. That simply means that there are enough people that care about the home rule cities that they get to make their own laws. This session was an attack on local control, to strip away your control and make the decisions from the state level, and that was the most disappointing thing about this session.
All right. Any questions?
Thank you for that question.
I'm extremely happy to hear after 36 years we have someone in Austin who will fight for those who cannot speak, that are African American, who are behind bars. I'm extremely happy that a young man and a man of God has decided to pick that mantle up. I don't have a question, but I'm very happy that you will pick that up.
Thank you, Earl. Mr. Earl, I appreciate that. No, it is a serious issue. You know,
No one has picked that up in 36 years.
it's an industrial prison complex. And when you look at the prisons, they're spread out across the state, mostly in the boundaries or the borders of the state. So it makes it very difficult for individuals who are challenged economically to be able to travel and visit their loved ones. They're spread out over 143,000 acres. That's 212 square miles. That's the size of Chicago. My wife, Michelle, who's here with me tonight, is from Chicago. And we have 5 wonderful children. I didn't mention that at the beginning, and God has really blessed us with 5 grandchildren, too. So thank you for being here.
Yes,
Thank you.
The state controls group homes in our neighborhood. We don't know that the group home is there until we see strange people walking through the neighborhood all the time. And so I would like for the state to give that back to the city. We should have control over that, not the state. And so are you willing to fight that fight?
You're absolutely right. I mean, the state should not be involved in local issues that pertain to our communities. And so, yes, I have and I will champion bills that are germane to that, including, well, I can go on and on about this particular session. The 86th session has been an assault on local control.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
I have to question this now. I do a lot of work with seniors, and I think it's very disheartening that the senior citizen gets $10, $15, $20 of food stamps, and they get $700 a month. But yet and still, we give a mother who never worked $800, $900, even college students can't even qualify for food stamps. And that's an issue that needs to change, because the message we're sending to our seniors, when you get old, and I'm almost there, that you worked and paid the wage, but it's insulting. $20 food stamps, a mother never worked, $800, $900. So will you, because we have some seniors that are prepared to get on that bus and ride. Will somebody help me lead the charge to overturn that, because it is sad that they on a fixed income, gotta pay Medicaid, do all these other things. God.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Yes.
Okay, so.
Yes. And I'm sorry, what's your name?
Oh, Yolanda Williams.
Ms. Williams, yes. Yes and yes. I will be conducting a senior citizen tour on February 13th, I believe. I'd love if you would call my office and be a part of that, because the more that we can get input from folks like you, Ms. Williams, about these issues, the better. And since we will be going to 5 different communities that are senior communities in Dallas, and I'm not doing this to get votes. Notice I'm doing this after the election. So I'm assuming you know that I'm fighting for you and issues that are germane to not only our senior citizens, but also our young folks as well.
I'm in 100, but I'm in 110, but I still
Very well.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Call my office.
Could you give us the boundaries of 109 so we can influence those in your area where you're in there?
Good question.
Thank you. You know, first of all, you have to score a high IQ to move to District 109. That's why Phil Foster is a citizen of District 109, which goes up to the Cedar Crest golf course, skips back over to the west side of Lancaster Road, and it covers Singing Hills, that area, Cedar Hill, DeSoto, half of DeSoto. The line of demarcation for DeSoto is Westmoreland, the east side of Westmoreland, and then Ovilla, the Dallas County portion of Ovilla, Glen Heights, the Dallas County portion, all of Lancaster, where it's my district office at 103 North Dallas Avenue, 75146. And then also Hutchins, Wilmer, a part of Sigerville, a small part of Duncanville, and the Dallas County portion of Ferris. I'm sorry?
I said, it's taking you 20 minutes to describe it.
Those are the boundaries. Yeah, and you can see there's some gerrymandering going on.
Any other questions from the audience? Hey, I have a question. Being a freshman, it was very interesting to see that the former Speaker Strauss, when he stepped down, quite a few people decided to, initially put their names in the hat, and then everybody got behind Bonnet. And to say that kind of went south, a lot of things that went on with tape recordings and whatnot. So now that you have some experience about you with being in Austin, what kind of advocacy are you going to do, or possibly run for the Speaker of the House?
Have you been talking to the mayor?
No, I have not.
Okay. I believe in certainly learning all I can. I don't run for an office just because folks think that you should run for that office. I became the first African American mayor of DeSoto in 2010. But earlier someone had asked me, or groups had asked me to run back in 2006. But again, it's about the right time. So thank you for that compliment. Now, as it relates to the speaker and the shenanigans that went on there, I really, really enjoy my relationship with Speaker Bonham. But let me tell you, when I met Speaker Bonham, all of the freshmen came in, we're meeting with him, and before he gets into the room, everybody's talking. They're disgruntled about Speaker Bonham and just can't, support him. They have all these complaints. And when he gets in the room, everybody changes, and except me. And I told him openly, I said, Mr. Speaker, I have a hard time thinking I can support you. And I stayed with that and did not, my name was not included on that early support.
All right, any final questions? Okay, we'll give you your 2 minutes in closing.
Thank you. Someone asked me, am I having fun? I really resented that question, because this is not about having fun. There's a lot of work to be done. It sickens me when so much time is spent on the floor celebrating a lemonade bill.
Yes.
When we've got people that need legislation that's going to help them and improve their lives. We've got work to do. And I'm sick and tired of seeing special interests come down to Austin and seemingly get whatever they ask for. We represent the people. And dadgummit, I'm working for you. And I'm fighting for you every day to ensure that we get things done for the people. We've got to see change. I had 66 bills that I authored or joint authored or co-sponsored. And of those, I'm the only freshman that had 2 bills vetoed by the governor. Why? Now, the governor's office said to me, it's nothing personal, Representative Sherman. I take it personal when you're affecting my ability to improve the lives of people in my district and beyond. So I need your support. You know, the last day to register is February 3rd. And you know early voting starts February 18th. I can't get to this office without your support. My opponent is not here. Well, I can't focus on my opponent. So I need your vote. I need your help to ensure that it is convincing that I have your support to get things done in the 87th legislative session. Thank you very much. You can reach me at my office anytime. You can reach me through my district director. You can call me on my cell phone, which all the precinct chairs I know have and many others have. And just know that because you have my number, I have your number too. And I will be texting you for your support. Thank you.
All righty, thank you everyone for your time and coming out. Thank you candidates for coming out and speaking to your platform and answering questions. I do apologize for sponsors. We could not do this without you all. So thank you for your contributions, and I'll make sure I have the list next week so we can pay homage to you. Monday, February 3rd, we will have District Judge Court 162. We will have the 254, and we will also have the Criminal District Judge Dallas County number 3 for Monday. So the 162, which is a civil bench, the 254, which is a family court bench, and then Dallas County number 3, which is a criminal bench. So make sure that you let your family, friends, neighbors, other voters that you know in Dallas County to come out and hear what the candidates have to say. Thank you and good night, everyone.